Welcome again. I'm Shifra, and I'm excited that you returned again, or this is your first time that you're here, with awe and wonder every day at work. So, this is one of the stories that I've been sharing with those who drop in. One of the many stories. Okay, so I was walking into a mall. My feet were hurting, and I looked up, and there was a sign that said Foot Solutions. So I went into that. This was in Southern California. And as I'm waiting to be served, there is a big volume, like an album, of letters from customers. And I start to flip through it. And it's huge. And so when the owner came out, a man named Jim, I asked him, well, these are incredible stories. I've been, at least comments and cards about your service. He said, yeah, we get a lot of responses. And I said to him, what would it be like if you had someone interviewing your top clients, or when I say top clients, revenue generating clients, asking how you have made more possible in their lives? And he said, that'd be great. I said, have you ever done it? He said, no. And so we engaged in a relationship to do that. And he pointed out their number one customer that they valued immensely, their relationship with her and how she presented herself and how she's in compliance. Because it was Foot Solutions makes orthotics that allows people to the feet to support the person so that they can go on and live their lives. And so this particular person that they chose was a woman named Marilyn, and Marilyn had claw feet, and she had found tremendous amount of variety of shoes in this store that she could wear. That's what they knew. But what I knew was that there's a deeper story, a much bigger story. And she began to share with me about her life. And that's what I do. I'm able to pull from the participant what they consider to be maybe not important, but really, as I am listening to it, it's so connected to who they are and to what serves them. Sometimes it's hard to see oneself, and it's easier for someone else to see it. So she shared the story of always being told she was clumsy, always being told that she, couldn't do certain things, couldn't catch a ball, and it was like her fault. And she went through her life with that, went through high school with that. She loved swimming, and it was easy to swim. But her claw feet is called Charcot-Marie tooth disease. Is when your feet curl up, your toes curl up, right, and they look like claws. Eventually, she gets marries a neurosurgeon, and he couldn't help, and they would go on cruises and do different things, and she would kind of hide her feet because, in her opinion, she was ashamed of her feet. So, now none of this Foot Solutions knew. All they knew is that she was a great customer. She had tried surgery, and then surgery didn't work, so the people blamed, she felt the doctors were blaming her feet. Her feet didn't cooperate, her body didn't cooperate, so it didn't work. And the final conclusion over many years was, you just have to wear those big, ugly orthotic shoes. That's just how it is. But she had a friend who had some foot issue, but not as severe as hers, but this friend had lovely, amazing shoes. And Marilyn thought, well, I'll go into this store this time and see. What she was anticipating was the look on the faces of the people when they would see her feet. Again, the people in Foot Solutions knew nothing about this. She goes in, hesitant. This was her last effort to try to normalize her life with having some shoes that she could wear. And when Jim came out of the store to serve her, and she shared her dilemma, he got on his knees and took off her shoes. And she was watching his face because she just knew he was probably going to grimace, like, oh my goodness. And he just said, your feet are like everyone else's feet. They support your body. And we're going to get the support for your feet that your feet need to support you. And we're going to need you to talk about how it's fitting, and because only you know how it feels. So we need your cooperation. We need you to talk about your feet. They had no idea that Marilyn was about to lose it. When I say lose it, burst out into tears of joy, right? She held all this in. And yes, they made their orthotics. And yet she had great shoes to wear. And yes, she finally realized in sharing the story with me that she had become a body image coach as a result of Foot Solutions requiring her to talk about her feet and exposing her feet to the support that it needed. So I wrote this story about that. It's called Foot Solutions, My Life Coach. She became a coach because Foot Solution had coached her into accepting and embracing her own feet. She didn't make the connection between these two stories until the interview. Now, what had gone on before in my communication with the owner was that I would write the story and then share that in a seminar with all the other employees and the other owner, his wife. They were also co-owners of it. And that during that time, the employees who were from Italy, from Germany, from India, from other parts of the world, would then write their own story of awe and wonder about when they were little, connected to their feet. That was the deal. So we had that seminar, and the employees hadn't heard the story. They were reading it. And amazed, they had no idea that what they were bringing into the life of this person was awe and wonder about her feet and her body and acceptance. And then I said to them, now it's time for you to write your foot story. And they had passed out sheets of paper and they had a pen. And it got very quiet and they all began to write. And when the writing was over, they wrote for maybe 15 minutes. They stopped. During the process, you could hear sniffling. There were tears that were coming up and emotions, which was wonderful. And each one shared a story about their feet when they were little and the nurturing that had occurred for their feet. So if you have a company right now, you're an owner of a company, you have your own story of awe and wonder, but you have attracted to you, even though you may not have known this, people who have their own story of awe and wonder. And when you bring the customer story, the employee story, and your story together, right? It's called a hallelujah choir as far as the community around you is concerned, right? You have this integration of why you do what you do, the attraction of people who feel the same way, maybe not the same way, but have the similar experiences and feel the awe and wonder with the feet. And you have a customer receiving this. It's amazing. I wish that for you. Thanks for listening.